The 10 cheapest places to rent in America. When thinking about the cities with the cheapest rent in America, you probably aren't thinking about New York. In fact, former mayoral candidate Jimmy McMillan once famously declared, "The rent is too damn high." But head away from the big cities and you'll find plenty of cheap places to rent. So just where are these places with the cheapest rent in America? As expected, the cheapest cities for renters are away from the coasts and metropolises, in suburbs and tucked-away cities and mostly concentrated in southern states. These budget-friendly burbs are home to America's most affordable apartments. And out of nearly 1,350 cities in the nation with 50 or more rental units, only these 10 cheap places to rent offer an average one-bedroom unit under $570. Here are the 10 cheapest places to rent in America. Pineville, Louisiana. More than 100,000 screaming football fans filling Tiger Stadium, the 8th largest in the world. That's the scene each fall Saturday in Baton Rouge. But what if it weren't in Baton Rouge? Did you know that for its first decade, Louisiana State University was not in the state capital, but instead 100 miles up the road in tiny Pineville? A city of 14,000, Pineville sits across the Red River from Alexandria as its largest suburb. Pineville is an important medical community, home to Central Louisiana State Hospital, Pinecrest Services Center, Huey P. Long Memorial Hospital and the Alexandria, Virginia Center. It's also the site of Alexandria National Cemetery, home to 1,400 Civil War buried casualties. And while no LSU, Southern Baptist-founded Louisiana College is in Pineville, along with 7,000-seat Wildcat football field. One of several Louisiana towns on the list of cheapest rent in America, rental rates in Pineville stayed at identical levels from 12 months ago. A one-bedroom apartment runs an average of $565 monthly. Russellville, Arkansas. Hunkered down between the massive Ozark and Ouachita National Forests, Russellville sits inside the river valley along the Arkansas River and Lake Dardanelle near northwest Arkansas. The city houses just 28,000 residents, many of whose lives and livelihoods center on either the 10,000 enrollment Arkansas Tech University or Arkansas Nuclear One nuclear power plant, the only such facility in the state. Despite its small size, there is much happening in Russellville. The city offers a lively music and arts scene with a monthly downtown art walk which features local galleries, live music and wine tastings, and the Polk County Fairgrounds which bring over 50,000 fans to the annual county fair. Like much of Arkansas, rents in Russellville are severely affordable. An average one-bedroom unit leases for a monthly rate of just $559, up 5.6% from last year. Leesville, Louisiana. On the extreme western border of Louisiana along the Sabine River is the parish of Vernon. And the parish seat is the key city of Leesville. Leesville is a town of 6,600 just 16 miles from the East Texas border but is still the third largest in the DeRidder-Fort Polk South region. Leesville is an important military town, dating back to the Civil War and the nearby Confederate Breastworks Armory. Then in 1941, Fort Polk opened on the south end of town, becoming a major U.S. Army training camp during World War II. During this time, the population of Leesville boomed and its economy shifted as Fort Polk eventually became the fifth largest military facility in the nation. To serve all those residents, Leesville offers a number of recreational sites. Leesville Art Park features a number of sculptures and outdoor art installations. The Edmund Ellison Smart House is the home of Leesville founder Edmund Ellison Smart. And the Museum of West Louisiana houses exhibits including a collection of paintings by German prisoners of war housed at Fort Polk during World War II. Leesville is a getaway and civilian housing town for one of America's great military bases. Thankfully, lease prices here are cheap. An average one-bedroom unit rents for just $552, nearly 5% less than a year ago. Seven. Greenville, Texas. The county seat and largest city in Hunt County, Greenville, Texas, sits on the outskirts of the massive Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex. While the commute to downtown Dallas is just an hour, the city benefits from being far removed from the hustle of both the big city and the crowded North Texas mega suburbs like Plano and Irving. That doesn't mean Greenville is some sleepy borough. The city features a major L3 Technologies facility, a 50-arrival-per-day general aviation airport that formerly trained World War II fighter pilots, a downtown winery, a vintage theater, the Audie Murphy American Cotton Museum and a Splash Kingdom waterpark location. Considering its convenience to the best of big city life while maintaining its small-town feel, its average rent of $551 a month for a one-bedroom apartment isn't just cheap, it's a downright steal. And that's even with a nearly 5% increase in price from 12 months prior. Six. Brusly, Louisiana. The third of the four Bayou State communities in our top 10, Brusly is a small sliver of a town on the Mississippi. Just downriver from downtown Baton Rouge, Brusly sits on the shore opposite Louisiana State University. The town of 2,500 is a rectangle 3 miles long but just a half-mile wide. Brusly is a small bedroom community for Baton Rouge. The suburb is nearly entirely residential, split down a central flood control channel along its spine. Several rental properties live alongside mostly single-family homes. A small commercial district lies along Louisiana Highway 1 and its service road Vaughn Drive. This includes mostly independent and chain restaurants along with banks, service merchants and a sports bar. Alexander Park offers a number of ball fields and a batting cage. 5. Texarkana, Arkansas. One of the most famous twin cities in the nation, Texarkana, Arkansas, as its name suggests, sits just across State Line Avenue from the slightly larger Texarkana, Texas. Early in its history, Texarkana, the Arkansas side, was part of a battle with the independent Republic of Texas for land, as the two nations fought over the placement of their borders. Coming of age as a rail and lumber hub, today the city's economy centers around agricultural processing, sales and service. While a distinct city from its neighbor across the border with its own mayor and own government, the twin cities share one courthouse, one federal building, one jail and one post office, among other services. But it's on the Arkansas side where the living is easy, with a one-bedroom apartment renting for just $542 a month on average. Four. Pascagoula, Mississippi. Imagine spending your days in a beautiful city along the stunning northern Gulf Coast. A spot halfway between Biloxi and Mobile, halfway between Gulfport and Pensacola. Gorgeous bays and sunny beaches. Spring breakers, golfers and sun seekers. Now imagine paying just $539 a month for an average one-bedroom apartment. That's Pascagoula on Mississippi's Gulf Coast. Pascagoula sits along the Pascagoula River out of Pascagoula Bay. Just like much of the northern Gulf Coast, the energy and shipbuilding industries are key to the local economy. Owned by Huntington Ingalls Industries, Ingalls Shipbuilding is Mississippi's largest private, single-site employer. Dating back to 1938, Ingalls is the U.S. Navy's leading ship producer. Just to its south is the former naval station Pascagoula. Also, on the east side of town is Chevron Pascagoula Refinery, the energy company's largest in the world. Along with its industry, Pascagoula features 2 miles of beachfront, 26 parks, 4 boat launches and a private yacht club. Culture is everywhere, including La Pointe Krebs House and Museum and Mississippi Maritime Museum. It also offers bustling commercial districts along Denny Avenue and Market Street. While apartment prices did increase by about 7% since last year, this area is still one of the most favorable and cheapest places to rent in America. Three. Marion, Indiana. Sure, Marion is the home of Indiana Wesleyan, the largest private university in Indiana. Yeah, Marion High School has won 8 state basketball championships in this hoops crazy state. Proudly, Marion is the site of one of just 6 branches of the National Home for Disabled Volunteer Soldiers, assisting veterans from across the nation for 150 years. But the one thing that may have put Marion on the map was the 1993 wedding of Julia Roberts and Lyle Lovett that took place at Marion's St. James Lutheran Church on the way to Lovett's tour date in Indianapolis. But you don't have to be a country star or Hollywood starlet to enjoy life in Marion. A city of nearly 30,000, Marion sits equidistant from Indianapolis and Fort Wayne. It's a bustling county seat on the Mississinewa River. Downtown along the river is the 2.75-mile Mississinewa Riverwalk, a hiking and biking trail that transforms each holiday season into the Christmas City Walkway of lights with over 2 million lights. Downtown also offers a number of shops and restaurants, parks, trails and even the Quilters Hall of Fame. Further west of the river is the commercial corridor along Baldwin and Western Avenues, lined with chain eateries, big box stores and service merchants leading up to the university. Marion is the cheapest large city over 20,000 in the entire United States for renters. An average 1-bedroom apartment rents for just $533 a month. Two. Patterson, Louisiana. On a bayou, 75 miles from New Orleans and a dozen miles from the Gulf, is the small marshy town of Patterson. The community, founded by Pennsylvania Dutch resettlers, was originally named Dutch Settlement, then Dutch Prairie, then Dutch Town, until Captain John Patterson arrived in 1832. Patterson opened the town's first commercial business, established a post office and the town was renamed after him. A century later, the aircraft industry came to town. It started when Patterson resident and millionaire Harry Williams and aerospace engineer Jimmy Weddell founded Weddell-Williams Air Service Corporation in Patterson. They then opened a factory in town and engineered a number of early aircraft, along with creating Louisiana's first commercial airline. The company is a direct ancestor of Eastern Airlines. Today, the town on Bayou Teche has a population of over 6,000. Since it's surrounded by grain fields and swamp, Patterson is mostly inhabited by single-family homes and mobile home parks in residential neighborhoods. Friendly pizza places, chain restaurants and service stations line US Route 90 which runs through the city. Living the bayou life in Patterson is cheap. Among all the towns in Louisiana that are top 10, Patterson is the cheapest at just $485 monthly on average for a 1-bedroom apartment. One. East Grand Forks, Minnesota. East Grand Forks tops our list of cheap places to rent. As you might guess, the Minnesota city is east of Grand Forks. It sits across the Red River over the North Dakota border. As the cheapest place for renters in America for 2021, apartment prices dropped a massive 14% from last year, and the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in East Grand Forks is just $442 a month. Arts, culture, education and industry are closely tied to the OG Grand Forks over the river. But there is a lot to East Grand Forks on its own. Much of EGF was shaped by the Great Flood of 1997. That's when the Red River flood damaged nearly every structure in town, and several neighborhoods ended up demolished. After that, brand new neighborhoods grew, including rental properties and apartment complexes. A revitalized downtown added a multiplex movie theater and a large destination sporting goods store along with several new eateries. It also led to the creation of the Greater Grand Forks Greenway. Twice the size of Central Park, the 2,200-acre Greenway lies in the area devastated by flooding where houses and businesses once stood. A dike system now protects the area that is home to parks, golf courses, a disc golf course, hiking and biking trails, a state campground, athletic fields, gardens, a wildlife preserve and a flood memorial. Today, the city holds a number of community festivals including Catfish Days, Heritage Days and the Frosty Bobber Fishing Tournament. Additionally, it shares many events with its North Dakota neighbor including the Potato Bowl Parade and First Night,